in basically one prompt, you have a very good template for your show notes. And you can do that with YouTube videos. We've taken outlines from YouTube videos and turned them into blog posts, or generated new YouTube ideas from what already existed. Like, there's so many possibilities that you can do with it. But again, it's part of the paid version. And a lot of people give up because they aren't impressed with the free version.
Yeah.
Crazy. That's insane. That gives me a lot of ideas.
Once you turn that on, you can't turn it off. I think
that's what I'm scared of.
I think that's probably part of the problem Mark and I have is we've flipped that switch and now we can't turn it off.
You're in too deep now, man. Welcome back to Oh My Pod. Today's guest is Nick Nalbach. He's a seasoned podcaster, podcast coach, and a leader in leveraging AI technology for content creation. Having hosted the 9-5 podcast and worked with numerous podcasters, Nick brings firsthand knowledge of the industry's challenges and opportunities to NextGen Podcaster, a community he co-founded with Marc Ronick. The mission, helping creators harness the power of AI to streamline their work and unlock new creative potential. This was a super cool episode. We dove into a bunch of specific tools that people can use for their podcast, AI tools, of course, and also talked a lot about how ChatGPT actually works for a lot more than you'd think. Like, there's a lot of ways that you can get better at using ChatGPT and prompts that you can use and all sorts of things. So if you tried ChatGPT and you kind of gave up on it because you thought, well, it doesn't really work, then listen to this episode and hear what Nick has to say because it's really interesting. Anyways, enjoy the episode. Hey, Nick, welcome to the show. We're really happy to have you here.
Thank you, guys. I'm pumped to be here. Anytime I get a chance to come and talk podcasting, I'm like all in. So I'm pumped for today.
Yeah, we're all kind of a little bit nerdy when it comes to that type of stuff, I think.
Yep.
Everybody is when you get to talk about your the intricacies of your industry, especially one that's not talked about so much. Like, we're in a bit of a niche industry, producing podcasts.
Yeah, but it's getting popular. People are starting to pay attention now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. People.
So popular.
Well, Celine and I were actually just talking. We're researching some ideas for episodes just with me and her, like solo episodes, duo episodes, I guess. And one of the ones that we were looking at was why are like really, really famous, important people spending a lot of time going on to podcasts as guests, like RFK. Who else were we talking about? Paul Saladino, like just really
you were
big,
the guy that you read the book of.
Dan Martell, like just huge people whose like time is worth a lot of money, like a ton of money, and is very important. They're spending their time going on podcasts. Like RFK, I actually don't really know his politics very much, but whether you agree with him or not, he's going on to like Joe Rogan. He's been on to like Jordan Peterson's podcast, like several different shows, and that's what they're spending their time doing. So it must be getting more and more important because the highest level of people are actually taking their valuable time and spending it traveling and to be on podcasts.
You know, I had a person, so I used to host the 9-5 podcast. That was like my show, and I've since discontinued that. But I had a guest on the show that had talked about like building authority in your industry. And he talked about being an author and podcasting as two of the biggest ways to build authority in your niche because like people are afraid to do it. They see other people out there doing it and they're like, wow, that guy's putting in the work or that girl's putting in the work. Like, that's where like they must do something. They must be an expert in something. Yeah. And whether you're podcasting or writing a book, it's like, it's not an easy thing to do. So it doesn't surprise me, I guess is what I'm getting at, that a lot more people are getting involved in it. Plus you're reaching a lot more catered to audience. Like the people listening trust the hosts. That's why they listen to the show.
Of course.
And when you can tap into that trusting audience, an engaged audience, like that's gold for anybody that's trying to sell, promote, provide value. Like I'm in love with podcasting because of that.
Same here. I'm wondering if also another thing is that in a podcast or if you write your own book, you're able to say whatever you want. Whereas
it's your medium.
Beforehand, people might have gone onto TV And I think TV has a lot more restrictions and what you can say and what you can't say.
Well, time restriction too. You get a little slot, right?
Yeah. But also like what you can talk about. I think there's a lot of censorship. Whereas podcasting, I think maybe not yet. Hopefully it's not going to happen too badly. But like I feel like it's not such a censored medium.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Even if it's not censored, it's how it's chopped up.
Yeah.
It might change your message entirely.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
I just had to close my door because Celine is in the other room and I can hear her coming through.
Whoops.
The benefits of, or not the benefits, I guess, of working together in a tiny apartment. Yeah. But Nick, like I found you on Instagram, and there's a lot of people who make content about like the type of work they do, like if they're a social media marketer or a coach of some kind. Like a lot of people make all sorts of content about what they do, but your content that you're making about what you do seems like you spend a lot more time than the average person making these reels damn good, because I could watch every single one of them, learn something new right there on the spot. Your editing is on point. Everything is super, super clean. And I was just like semi blown out of the water after watching a lot of your stuff on there. So first of all, if anybody is interested in hearing about AI and how it applies to podcasting, but also not just podcasting, sort of, there's also some broader stuff like that you could take from your content as well. But Nick on Instagram, we'll link that in the show notes. Amazing content. And just like briefly talk about like what you're doing on Instagram. What is NextGen Podcaster? What is this massive list of AI tools, like all this super valuable stuff at just the right time? Like just kind of give us the rundown of that.
Well, first off, thank you. You have no idea how much that means, you talking about the Instagram content, because I've put in a lot of work and it's gotten a lot easier as I've learned it, but that was a big jump for me getting into the video stuff. So it's nice hearing that. I really appreciate that.
Of course, yeah.
As far as myself and NextGen Podcaster, I got into the podcasting space in 2020, the whole pandemic, part of the pandemic podcaster group. I didn't realize it at the time. I heard people talking about it. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense why people would do that. I was like, wait, I did that. So it's kind of how I got into it. But that was like my first kind of foray into content creation. I was doing like blog posts and things like that, but I always wanted to be on camera, video content, audio content, and video scared me to death. So I was like, I could do podcasts where it's just audio. Like no one has to see me turning beet red while I'm trying to record this stuff. Like it seemed like an easy barrier to entry compared. And just kind of really fell in love with the medium. I started meeting some really awesome people, having some really great conversations, learning a ton. That was another kind of piece. What I love podcasting so much is like, I went out there to share people's stories, but I was selfishly taking in so much knowledge and learning from people who have done the things that I want to do. And it was like, this is a gold mine. Like I would have to pay somebody for this kind of information.
Yeah.
And they're just coming and talking to me for free about it. Like that's
right.
amazing.
Yeah, I agree with that. Totally.
And then fast forward to all this AI stuff. That's where NextGen Podcaster kind of came into the fold. My business partner, Marc, and I, we started playing with all this stuff like just before ChatGPT came out. Actually, we were dabbling in some of the AI, and then ChatGPT hit, and it was like everyone's heads exploded. Like,
oh, so you were doing this before ChatGPT?
Yeah, there were several tools out there that were using OpenAI's technology. So OpenAI, for anyone listening, OpenAI is the creator of ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
They had like previous versions of it that weren't quite as powerful. You couldn't actually chat with it like you can now. And these companies were building software like AI, this generative stuff that you're seeing now with that technology. And it was okay. It wasn't great by any means, but that's kind of what powers behind Jasper. Jasper was out well before ChatGPT ever hit the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as ChatGPT hit, it was like, holy crap, what is this stuff? And we saw a huge opportunity here because it was helping us with content creation. It was helping us with ideas. We were able to generate like physical things from it that directly benefit us as creators. We're like, podcasters need to be using this. in some form or fashion, podcasters need to be using this. So we went like deep into AI, like taking a look at all these different tools. We're on so many freaking beta lists, I can't even tell you right now. And just figuring out ways that we can take advantage of this technology, because it's really clear that it's not going to go anywhere. It's evolving at an extreme rate.
Yeah.
And if we can't keep up with it to some extent, we're going to get left way behind, because by the time you get on board with it, it's already going to be 50 iterations beyond, and you're going to be it's going to be a really difficult time trying to catch up and understand how this stuff works. So we kind of wanted to build this community where we could show people how it's working, how we're using it. Like, we don't consider ourselves AI experts or anything like that, but we're using the stuff every day. And when we can find ways to use it, we're going to pass that along to our community members and anybody who wants to learn how to use it as well.
So where is this community? Where is it hosted?
So it's like our own private community.
Okay.
We do have a morning clubhouse every morning, Monday through Friday. Clubhouse still exists,
right?
Believe it or not. We host like a more general podcasting room there.
Okay.
And then, we built a private community. It's on our own website. So if you just went to nextgenpodcaster.com, like, it's almost like our own social media site, if you will.
Yeah.
You can go in there, got all kinds of resources.
Pay to be part of it, or?
Yeah. You can get a 1-month free trial. So come in there, you can see what kind of resources we have in there. We do monthly like meetup mastermind sessions, or we kind of show everyone what we're working on, what we're playing with, how we're incorporating it. And then people can share what they're doing, if it's something different, because we're all kind of at this learning stage, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're learning together. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So kind of a nice little group collective for us to test, play with things, throw ideas out there, see what's possible, what isn't possible.
Okay, that's cool.
And then just a ton of resources as well.
Okay, yeah, that's super cool. So people will link that as well. Link it, show note writers, make sure to link that. And so, like, talking about AI tools, we are, as business owners, and I think that this applies to pretty much every single industry right now, we are really, really curious / scared about AI. Not scared that it will take over our jobs, but scared that we will miss something that could be saving us massive amounts of pain and massive amounts of time.
Oh my God.
Scared that we'll miss something like that and do it ourselves while everybody else is using some other thing that we're not, that we don't really know about. Mm-hmm. So going down that kind of rabbit hole. So if a person was listening to this and they were launching their podcast right now, or they already had a podcast with, let's say, 20 episodes or even 50 episodes, maybe 100, and they're looking to make improvements to their process, they're looking to save more time, maybe they're looking to outsource certain things, what are 3 of the most powerful tools that a podcaster can use for their podcast right now? And not in any kind of way, like it could be for writing or for audio or anything. Like, what are your favorite things right now? You said you've been doing all this research, so I'm really curious.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
I think the obvious one is ChatGPT, the one that we just mentioned already. Mm-hmm. I mean, at this point, I'm using it every single day. Are people using it the wrong way a lot of times, or not getting the most out of it? I mean, I don't think people are, it's not that they're using it the wrong way, it's that they're not giving it a chance. I think the biggest thing that I've noticed with people who use it is they'll immediately dismiss it and say it gives you crap results. Like, you don't get any good answers out of it. Like, why are people obsessed with this thing? Why do people keep talking about it? Mm-hmm. And like, it took a lot of playing with it and really understanding how to create prompts for it, and realize, like, we have to give this thing backup information for one. We can't just tell it to generate a podcast outline for me, because you've just opened up the world of ideas for a podcast episode. Like, we need to be very hyper focused and targeted. But then understanding if ChatGPT doesn't give us the answer we want, we can tweak things. We can ask it, okay, I didn't like that. I want you to do it this way and maybe incorporate XYZ into this next answer. Okay. So it's like you're continuing a conversation. It's like if I went to Justin and said, hey man, can you write show notes pages for my podcast episode? Okay. you know what a show notes page is, but you could take that a million different directions.
And
then you come back and say, here you go, Nick, here's the show notes page. And I'm like, this is garbage. I'm never going to Justin again.
Mm-hmm.
Versus me saying, hey, Justin, I'm looking for my top 3 main points that I cover in this episode. I want a time-stamped like highlights that happened in here. And then I want you to include the resources and links that we mentioned in the episode.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have a lot more clear idea of what to do with that. And when you bring it back to me, I'm going to be like, okay, perfect. We need to treat ChatGPT the same way and not just give up on it if it spits out something wrong, because it will screw up. A lot of times it's just a matter of re-asking the question and then it gets it right the second time. I
definitely agree. I think it's the same thing when people started learning to use computers. It's not about the computer being stupid, but you're not speaking the computer's language. Like you have to know how to use the computer. And the same thing goes for ChatGPT. You need to know how to word things for it to work optimally. And so that's definitely going to take some learning. And that's very important to remember. It's not ChatGPT that is at fault necessarily, but it's actually you not knowing how to use it properly.
And to add on to that as well, I mean, I think the other side of people that don't want to use it, that say it's garbage, it's trash, is they're expecting a perfect, polished product out of whatever they ask.
Mm-hmm.
So just continuing on the show notes thing, if I tell it to generate show notes, I'm specific with it and I'm still not happy, or there's things that I would change, not being like, okay, this is trash. Like maybe I only had to reword a couple things or switch some stuff around or add my own voice into it. Like things like that should be something you're doing anyway. Even if you hired a writer, you're going to review it. You're going to edit it down a little bit if you feel like it needs to be changed. It's not a magic bullet, but it's going to get you 80 to 90% of the way there, which is 80 to 90% of the time you can be spending networking, finding new guests for your show, finding sponsors, monetizing, advertising. Like there's so many better things you could be doing with your time than writing a 2,000 word show notes page.
Of course.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
100%.
And so that's number one. That's funny because everybody knows about, not everybody, but a lot of people know about that. But I agree. I think that there's a certain amount of training that people should be ready to do before giving up on ChatGPT.
100%.
It's like you said, it's not just like Google where you can just plug something in and get a bunch of responses. Like you want to kind of learn the way it works a little bit before giving up on it. And so
any other software, you do it.
Yeah, that's good advice. Really good advice. Sorry, Nick, you were going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, I mean, with ChatGPT, it does feel like a lot at the beginning. And that's, again, part of the reason we started NextGen Podcaster was like, let's make this thing easy and digestible. But, I mean, a lot of people are dabbling with the ChatGPT, like 3.5, the free version of it.
Right.
And if you're giving up after the free version, like, you need to at least try a month of the paid version. Like, it is a night and day difference. And
really?
The additional features, just the plugins, and now they just introduced this new thing called Code Interpreter. Like, those two pieces alone make ChatGPT so much more valuable than what people are actually realizing.
So maybe try the paid version of ChatGPT because it's remarkably better?
Yes, absolutely.
Dang.
Just as an example, so Code Interpreter, it essentially allows you to upload files to ChatGPT.
Okay.
So one way that we've been using it is we're taking transcripts. So we take an episode transcript, we load it into ChatGPT, rather than us copying and pasting and it saying, well, you can only take half the transcript or a quarter of the transcript. Like, you can upload the document and say, all right, I want you to give me a summary of this transcript and I want you to put it in this format. Like, in basically one prompt, you have a very good template for your show notes. And you can do that with YouTube videos. We've taken outlines from YouTube videos and turned them into blog posts or generated new YouTube ideas from what already existed. Like, there's so many possibilities that you can do with it. But again, it's part of the paid version. And a lot of people give up because they aren't impressed with the free version.
Yeah.
Crazy. That's insane. That gives me a lot of ideas.
Once you turn that on, you can't turn it off. I think
that's what I'm scared of. what I'm
I think that's
scared of.
probably part of the problem Mark and I have is we've flipped that switch and now we can't turn it off.
You're in too deep now, man. You built a business around it. You're done now.
The AI is fully engulfed into our brains and sucked us in.
Yeah. Okay, so that's number one. What about number two?
So number two, I would say ChatGPT, I feel like was more of it's broader. It covers a lot of different people's use cases.
Definitely.
One of the big ones that people are like freaking out about as far as podcasters go is Capsho. And kind of a similar type of concept where you give it some information and it spits it out, only it is tailored towards podcasters.
Okay.
So in this case, you would upload your podcast episode, whether that's an MP3 file or whatever it is, and it will actually go through and take care of everything for you. Like you don't even have to really prompt it at all. It'll spit out a transcript. It'll generate a show notes description, maybe some episode titles for you, some social media posts, some suggested social media posts. Like all of this content just basically comes at you as soon as you upload the MP3 file.
Right. Yeah. That's sick.
It is sick.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
I think the caveat to that and why I kind of refrain from using them is because I like the flexibility of ChatGPT over a Capsho. With Capsho, you kind of get what you get. There's no continuing the conversation, saying, I like this, but make it more like this, or give it a more professional tone. Like, you're just kind of left with what you have.
So it sounds like to me that tool may be for the type of person who is an indie podcaster, who doesn't have a lot of time, who might as well use that rather than using nothing. Like, it's better than it's better than going and doing it yourself, or it's better than nothing, but it's not going to be to the level of like, A+ show production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
That's what I'm kind of gleaning from that.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
For the copywriting, we've just I made our assistant do some research because I found a few tools that have gotten better and stuff like that. And I think that was the main concern with all the other tools compared to the one that we're using, which is Podsqueeze, which we've had the creators on the podcast actually recently.
Have you heard of Podsqueeze?
Podsqueeze is a new one to me.
Check it out. Yeah,
they're from Portugal. And so the cool thing about that is that you can go in and edit it right in the software. And you can also, they have an integrated kind of ChatGPT. So you can tell them make this more blah, 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 blah. So that's something that my assistant checked the free versions of a few other tools like that. And she said none of these tools offer that. And so we're definitely sticking with the one that we are currently using. So yeah.
That's unique. A lot of it, there's...
I'll just add one thing before you comment on that, Nick, because just to build on that, it gives you, like you said, titles, blog post, tweet, LinkedIn article, everything there.
Show
and
notes,
then each block has the option to use ChatGPT's, to use OpenAI or whatever, to change each block. And then once you change it, you can save the prompts for your future episodes, and you can organize your episodes based on shows. So you can have the voices saved for each of those different things based on each show. So that is kind of the elite feature there. But sorry, anyways, continue with what you were going to say there.
That sounds awesome. That is the one thing, because there's several tools out there like Capsho. There's Dub Media is one of them.
Heard of Dub Media, yeah.
And I've played with that one. It's very similar. Just it gives you what it gives you.
Right.
I've recently looked at Summarize with AI in it.
Summarize.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, it's okay.
And that one's kind of cool as well, but that also doesn't have those features that we really like. But the cool thing about that one is that it actually researches your guest and gives you a bio of the guest and all of that stuff, which is insanely cool.
Whoa.
That one I liked for that fact, and the Podsqueeze I like for everything else. We still have copywriters because
we need them.
You need the people to use it and to tweak it and so on and so forth. They can just now work on 4 times more podcasts than before.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you said, Nick, that last 20%, it gets you 80% of the way, sometimes more, sometimes less, but that last percent still requires the human expertise. And if you don't have that and you're just using the AI, that's what you're talking about, like how indie podcasters, there's that last bit of quality that's missing from those softwares and stuff. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, with NextGen Podcaster, like we've gotten pretty deep into like all sorts of different content creation because of what AI has been able to do for us.
Yeah.
Right.
I had pretty much given up on blogging when I went to podcasting, but I was kicking myself because of the SEO benefit, like your ability to show up in search engines.
Of course.
Right.
And when these tools came out, it was like, I could use ChatGPT to do the majority of my writing, the time-consuming part of it, and I can just go and be the editor of my own blog.
Right.
And that's really allowed us to, like, we're putting out blog posts regularly that have been initially generated with ChatGPT, but then ultimately we're injecting ourselves back into the articles, cleaning it up, whatever.
Yeah, of course.
But we're pumping out several articles a week, whereas before with my old podcast, I would maybe get an article like once every 2 weeks or something like that, just because I hated the writing process.
Right.
And it would take me so long to just get my thoughts out.
Right.
And now it's like you can went out in like an hour and a half with some very quality in-depth editing.
Oh, 100%. And to me, I always say this, but because my mother tongue is not English, this has literally saved my life. Because to me, it took me 5 times the amount of time that it took Justin. And I was trying to do the LinkedIn article and like the LinkedIn newsletter or whatever, and those things, but it would take me an insane amount of time. And I was just saying, this is not worth it. But now with chat, it's like, it's completely different. Like I go in and make the edits, but it like has taken away that deficiency that I had in the language completely.
Yeah.
I've heard that from a lot of people where English isn't their like first language, that it's been just a lifesaver for them in that regard. And it's so cool because it's not podcast specific, like it's very human specific. Totally. It's a very human problem initially that people run into.
Yeah, because I'm fine speaking, but it's different to write an article than speaking to somebody in a conversation.
Well,
and the article needs to have a different type of like, just it's worded different a lot of the time or better or uses words that I don't think about because it's not my mother tongue. So it's insane. But like you said, you need to do those things. You need to write the blog. You need to do, You just all
you're trying to do is get your message to the most amount of people because you think that you can help those people. And so AI it's not like, oh, now I can like save money by like, outsourcing all this, or I mean, that is an element of it, but the main element is like using tools like this will help you reach more people. And if you have a message that helps people, then this is just a way to better foster that, I guess, is where I'm trying to go with that.
Yeah, 100%.
Like AI, there's a lot of like negative aspects of AI that people really kind of hone in on. But I do think that something like this is, if you wouldn't be writing blog posts at all, then there's a certain amount of people who your blog posts now help that would have not gotten that information had you not had the tools. So,
100%.
Yeah. And then so I guess the second one you mentioned, I already forget the name. What was it again?
It was called Capsho.
But then we also talked about Podsqueeze, so let's call that like a 2-in-1. And Podsqueeze, we actually did a whole episode with it because we interviewed the founders. They're a really cool like startup duo from Portugal. They had done like 10 plus projects that had completely bombed, and like they're literally like I forget what it's called, but whatever it is, when like just a serial entrepreneur just like trying software things over and over again until finally this one stuck and they passed 100K monthly revenue or whatever, and then they finally hit the one and they made an awesome product. So anyways, that's another episode from before. I think that was when this comes out. Anyways, whatever. So number 3, that's always confusing trying to think back because it's like, well, today, yes, it was 2 episodes ago, but when does this one come out? I gotta ask our VA. Yeah. Okay. Anyways.
And what is the third one that you would mention? Like the third tool?
So this is where I was getting tough because One of them isn't technically an AI tool, but it has saved me an insane amount of time.
Okay.
And then the other one is entirely an AI tool. And you guys might be familiar with this one, but it's called Opus Clip.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Have you guys played with that?
I've just tweaking around with that, yeah.
Yes.
I just started playing with it for the first time because I've played with tools very similar to it. And because like it seems like it pulls randomness out of your episodes.
Yeah.
Right.
And I used it for a YouTube video that we created, like ran that video through, and I was blown away.
Right.
Like some of the
I really
stuff
liked
it
it.
gave back. It was really good. So that right now for me, like because I was so blown away, I don't have a ton of experience with it, but the wow factor for me on those, I was like so impressed. For anybody who's got
knows where to pull
video podcast, like that definitely play with that. Check that
I
one
forget
out.
what the other one was called that I checked out. Do you remember, Justin?
No,
well, it doesn't matter. It wasn't.
About,
it wasn't that good. But there was another like clip like finder whatever tool. But I wasn't too impressed with that one. I was going to ask you after this question what you think the best tools for like creating clips and like just like those real content type of videos are.
I would say Opus Clip is probably at the top of that list for me right now.
Yeah.
Even with the little bit that I've played with it so far, like you can edit. I know that was a feature. It's something that prevented me from kind of getting into it in the first place. When I heard people playing around with it, they're like, it's okay, but I wish you could tweak stuff and you can't. Like you're kind of stuck, like the other tools that we were talking about, you're kind of stuck with what you get. Yeah. And now you have the ability to make adjustments. You can reframe your videos if it's kind of off frame. So it doesn't take a whole lot to refine it. And it spits out like 10 clips. It'll give you kind of a score out of 100, like how likely they feel like it'll do on social media.
I like that feature.
I don't know if it's real or if it's just like kind of give you an ego boost, but it does
I don't know.
feel
I haven't tried, but
I was wondering where they got that number from. Like, how do they know?
And what would be the other tool? Sorry, you finish first.
I was going to say, what was really cool about Opus Clip was the hooks that it pulled out. Like the initial like line that I had said in the video was like in the middle of a sentence. And me going back through and manually trying to pull out these clips, I never would have thought to start in the middle like it did. Right. And it was like, it was such a good hook. And I was like, holy crap. Like, I wish I had the mind to pick that out when I'm listening to it, but I never would have. Yeah. I would have started at the beginning of a sentence, probably have been really boring, and no one would have stuck around and listened to the video. Right. But it's that one. Very impressed. Now, the last one you were asking about this one is not AI, and they're very adamant that they are not AI. It's algorithms that they use. It's called TimeBolt. TimeBolt.io. Okay. It's more video focused. So like video podcasters, like this could be huge, but it's a software that like actually download the software. It's not web-based or anything like that. Okay. You can load in your video clip or your audio clip and it will automatically cut that video for you. And it's very precise cuts.
Cut what, like the start and the end, you mean? Or like cut where?
Cut in between any of the dead space. You basically set the parameters.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
You set like what constitutes a silence, what constitutes an audio like piece, and then it'll go through and it'll essentially show you on a timeline like red is cut out, green is still in there. And it does a really good job, especially for like the short form content where like speed is everything. Like quick cuts. You're getting right to the point. It does a really good job of getting right up to the front of that kind of waveform to make those videos smooth, like flow really quickly.
That's cool.
Nice.
Versus something like Descript and Riverside where the text-based editing, you're constantly going back and you're still like tweaking it and trying to tighten up all the different spaces and gaps and everything. Like,
definitely.
That to me,
100%.
If I didn't have that, I wouldn't have started our YouTube channel. Like our YouTube channel is very new. We like probably a month in only. And I was always scared of video just because of how long the editing process takes. And now I can whip out a 10-minute YouTube video in a single day, whereas it would take me probably a week or two to do before that.
Yeah, I know. I used to do YouTube, and it was like I used to
painful.
do YouTube like 9 years ago or something like that.
When there was none of that stuff.
It was freaking awful, the editing. Like that's what made me stop, honestly. Like I really like the recording and everything else, but not the freaking editing. It was
and I liked the prettying it up. I like the fun aspects of video editing.
Exactly.
It was all the time spent getting it to the point where you can start having fun with the editing.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
The administrative
I would get so burnt out by that I won't even care anymore. I'm like, I'm just going to freaking publish it.
Right.
100%.
There's another tool like that, but it doesn't include video yet, which is unfortunate, but we also interviewed the founders of that, which is called Resound. And that's another one where it takes the audio file and then it gives you like green for what, like you said, like there's options to cut things, and it cuts out. It also picks up like filler words and stuff and cuts those. That's another one. I think like our 4th ever episode or our 5th episode was with the founder of that. His name's Jacob Bozarth. He's a really cool dude. Oh yeah, actually, do you know Resonate Recordings, the production studio?
Yeah,
that's his company.
Oh, no kidding.
But he has another company that he started with this AI tool. So because they were using it internally because their code guy developed it, and then they decided that they were going to make it public. So
what I remember is that basically it's different than other tools that allow you to cut audio because it doesn't use a transcript, like it doesn't use a text, but it actually like uses the audio, right? Like it listens to the audio.
Yeah, totally.
Which other softwares will transcribe it and then make the cuts according to the text that the transcription gave them instead of the audio. So that's the difference.
So that is how TimeBolt works as well. I have not heard of Resound. Yeah, that's what kind of drew me towards that because even after I would run it through like a Descript or something and do the text editing, I was still editing it anyway, so I might as well not even run it through Descript in the first place.
Exactly. That's what it is. Descript does that as well.
Like, you guys are giving me homework now. I got AI tools and I got to go.
Right, I'm sorry.
Another one that I want to ask, have you tried Veed?
Veed.io.
Oh man, did I use it? I've looked into it. I don't know if I've actually used it.
That.
It does like the stock footage too. Like it helps you, like you search up pool and it'll give you like 80 videos of pools that you can put in, or
you can do like those, with the little inserts of whatever you're talking about.
So I haven't used that one. It was called InVideo.
And we looked at that one too.
I looked at that one as well.
Are very similar. I've been playing with that. I'm so in my mind, I'm so used to Adobe. I do everything in Premiere.
Right.
So they completely change up the process of editing, which maybe if you're starting there, it's easier, but I can't wrap my head around it.
Right. We just actually switched our video editor from Premiere to this because we wanted to use something that like anybody within the business could use like really easily, just in case there was like an assistant who needed to make something or something like that. Like I just don't like the idea of having something like gate kept in the business by someone's like own computer that they have, like a download that they have on there. I'd rather have like anybody be able to use it, or like I want to hop in and use it or something like that. That's why we hopped away. That's why we moved away from Premiere.
Yeah, he's still using both though, I think. But
but now we can make a clip if there's something from this episode. I'm like, oh, you know what? I really want 100%. That like right now. Like I could go and clip that. You know what I mean? So
what I think would be cool though, I think this would work really well with what you just said, Nick, like the TimeBolt thing as well, to make the clip faster and get anything out of there.
Yeah.
I think that would be great to use beforehand and then use whatever comes out of there.
And that's exactly what I do. I basically get it to the point of being able to like make pretty, because TimeBolt doesn't let you do like, you can't add text on the screen or do anything like that. It's literally just like chopping down the video footage.
Yeah.
And then you pull it into something like Premiere or Final Cut Pro or Camtasia, wherever you want to edit. Okay. And then that's where you can kind of play and have fun with it at that point.
Yeah.
But one of the cool things with that, like actually two of them, you can place markers in your timeline as you're editing it. And you can label those markers, and you can actually export all of those markers as chapters that you copy and paste into YouTube.
Right.
Or Buzzsprout or wherever you need chapters. And you're not having to go back through and listen. Okay, when did I say
Oh my
this.
gosh, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
now I found it. Okay, like that alone would probably take you a half hour or 45 minutes just for a single podcast episode. And you
Definitely.
can just do it in the process.
Definitely.
Yeah, what I've realized is that the way that the Podsqueeze does the timestamping, actually, if I just copy paste that into YouTube, it will actually create the captures on its, like the what is it called? Chapters on its own.
Chapters, yeah.
Nice. Okay. Is that, have you, like, are they pretty accurate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That was one thing, like, we've played with using ChatGPT, like loading in a time-stamped transcript and saying, like, pull this information out based on the time codes, which it's kind of got to make guesses in between the time codes.
Right.
But there was always, like, a little bit of tweaking you had to do with the chapters. Like, it wasn't exactly right, so you always had to go and mess with it, but it'll get you close at least. But that, I mean, if it's something you can copy and paste out of, like, that's just that one process alone saves you so much time.
Yeah, I saw that by accident. I had no idea
it
that
just
it
started
would do
happening.
that.
Yeah.
It just started happening. I was watching our own video on YouTube. I was like, oh, wait, it has all those chapters.
We have chapters.
Yeah, I didn't remember doing that.
How did that work?
And it helps a lot too. Like, it's a good feature.
I use them when I'm on YouTube, and especially because of the whole statistic on the drop-off rate in YouTube videos. You need those things because people do not watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
I jump to the point I need and I'm out.
So that's
I'm part of the problem.
Yeah, I'm also part of the problem.
It's not like podcasting, because podcasting, people really listen to the whole episode, but YouTube videos are like absolutely awful. After, I think people usually listen to 12% of the whole thing. That's what I think the statistic.
We had Fatima Zaidi on. She's the CEO of Quill Inc. And she said that podcasting has a 94% listen through rate, whereas YouTube videos have, I think it was something like 12% full watch rate. So it's a highly engaged, although smaller than YouTube, it's a highly engaged medium.
Yeah.
And I mean, YouTube at this point is, I can't remember if it's the number 1 or the number 2 platform for podcasts, like podcast listeners.
Yeah,
they go there.
I preach that. I preach that to every single person because I'm like, YouTube. Everybody has YouTube. Use it.
But the problem is that it's so difficult. Like,
yes,
we were just talking about editing the video is such a pain.
Of course.
So as a podcast, you're like, I already have to edit my podcast episode. I already have to do the show notes. I already have to create social media posts for all this stuff. Now you want me to do video on top of it?
Yeah, I know.
Like,
it's
not a chance.
we've the system that we use makes it easy. I will say that. Like, we have a YouTube channel that's like, whatever, it's active because we're posting on there, and I don't even think about it. Like, it just comes from this will be YouTube, right? But there's definitely ways that people could take it to the next step with a YouTube channel and make like different kind of content for the YouTube, or but having it on YouTube is better than not having it on YouTube at all and not having any kind of YouTube presence. So.
100%.
Yep. And I mean, all of these AI tools, like we're talking about in this episode, like, this is why learning these tools and understanding them and even just playing with them, like, take some of the pressure off and say that I have to use this for my podcast or use this for my business. Like, go screw around. That's usually how I learn most of the stuff I'm learning. Is I'm like,
of course,
Runway is a fun one. Not to just keep throwing more at your listeners, but
no, totally. What's Runway?
It is like ChatGPT is like text to text generative AI.
Yep.
And then you have something like Dall-E 2, which is text to image. So you type in text and it generates an image.
Right.
Runway takes it another step and allows you to do text to video. So you put in a little
I've heard of
prompt,
that. Yes.
And it's mind blowing. Like, we could change, like, load a video from this clip, and we could make all of us like claymation characters. Like,
I saw that on your Instagram.
Form us. Yeah,
I saw that on your Instagram.
So there's that aspect of it. You can upload an image, just like a straight picture, and you can tell it how you want it to animate the picture, and it'll go like I did.
Yes, I've seen a YouTube video on this.
I watched your Instagram video about that too, Nick.
I did that as well. It was like a beach scene or like waves crashing or something like that. I generated the image with AI, and then I put it in Runway, and I didn't even prompt it. I just put the image in and clicked the go button, and it recognized that it was waves, and it made the waves look like they were rolling and crashing. And I honestly think tools like this could enable people who are afraid of getting on video. Like maybe they don't want to show their face on video, but they're like, so if I'm not going to show my face, I can't do video. Well, we could turn you into a claymation, and your claymation character could be on video, or we create B-roll footage of like waves rolling or flying over a skyscraper or something like that while your podcast audio is playing.
Exactly.
It's giving you content to post as video form.
Yeah.
It's going to hit a new audience because, let's face it, not everyone listens to a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like to watch it.
Yeah. You need the content to go with your podcast 100%.
Yeah. Like there's so many opportunities, and they're making it so easy. They're making it too easy for us to use, but too many people are afraid to use them.
Yeah.
Well, I think that there's a lot of stuff in this episode that if somebody hasn't like gone into the AI like rabbit hole for podcasting, this will be super valuable.
Oh my God, yes.
But the next thing would be, where do you want people to go? For instance, like I think the most valuable thing that I saw from any of all the work that you've done, I think the most valuable thing was that list that you have of like 102, 103.
I think we're definitely over 110, 120 at this point.
Okay,
wow.
So it's just growing all the time of AI tools for podcasters. It's just like a massive list. So we're gonna link that below. But I don't know, like where do you want people to go to find this work that you're doing? Yeah,
I mean, to the point on that list, because I'm sure when we said over 100, people are like, "What?" Like I'm not going to go sift through that.
Yeah,
we basically made it so you can filter based on like your need specifically. So if you need help with social media content, like click the little social media tab and it'll show you all the social media AI tools that you can kind of check out. Or video, like click the video tab. So we're not like just saying go sift through 120 different AI tools and good luck, have fun.
Totally.
So there is that. It's not as overwhelming as 100 plus might sound. Yeah, if like you guys just mentioned 2 new ones, if you come up with new AI tools and things like that, like let us know, because we want to make this like the ultimate resource. Yeah. So we're always playing, always trying to grow it. As far as where else to go, I mean, NextGen Podcaster is the hub, if you will. That's where you're going to find everything.
But we'll link your Instagrams as well down there in the show notes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Because that's where you can see the stuff that we literally just talked about, the waves and the little claymation.
All of that stuff we're throwing on there.
Yeah.
And if you have audience members that are interested, not to keep throwing calls to action at the audience. I know this is something you guys have probably brought up on your episode, is only have one call to action.
They'll click if they want. We'll let them decide.
We do have it's called Mastering ChatGPT for Podcasters. And it's just an ebook. It kind of walks you through the process of how to create effective prompts. So you're not just kind of going in there asking for show notes pages and being disappointed when it starts telling you a story about Fluffy the poodle that was walking down the street in New York City.
Right.
So it'll actually guide you through that process. And then, I mean, I think we have probably over 100 prompts in there for podcasters specifically, depending on if you want social media posts, if you want show notes page specifically, there's a ton of prompts that you can actually just copy and paste, plug into ChatGPT and kind of run with. So I can give you guys the link to that if you want to link it as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
We'd love to. We'll just drop a bunch of links down there and just let people go to town.
And worst case, if that's too much, just shoot me a message on Instagram and
totally.
I'll help you guys out. I'll guide you where to go.
Cool.
Amazing.
Sweet. Well, thanks a lot, Nick. You're definitely, even though you said you're not like an expert on this, you're definitely an expert on this, and it's been really cool. This is like an area that, like I said, it's like scary, but it's also necessary because this is the way that the world works. We can't stop this ball; it's already rolling, and it's going to be a good thing to just get acclimated with everything now while it's still in its early stages, so that you don't get like bombarded with everything later down the road and you're already 10 steps behind everybody else. So. And you said that before. I think that's really valuable.
And I mean, if you think about it, right now it is still new. You have the opportunity to get ahead.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
This is a prime chance to give yourself a leg up over other people that you're like, man, they have a team of people. It's an unfair advantage that they have over me right now as an independent podcaster. Like, learn it, because this gives you that competitive advantage to keep up with some of the bigger names out there.
Yes.
It gives you that ability.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely agree, man. That's great advice, and have a good rest of your day. We're going to link everything below, and if you have anything else to add, now say it or forever hold your peace. Is that how they say that?
I have
that right?
no idea.
Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Speak now or forever.
Yeah.
No, I just want to thank you guys for letting me come on and
it was so fun.
Nerd out with you
was
guys.
amazing.
Like,
It's so fun.
Love it.
It's a good time. Like, really, it's a good time. You can tell everybody on this call is enjoying it. That's like the beauty of a good like guest to host match. Like, it's just like so easy. And actually the last thing that I wanted to say was, I think that if you're up for it, like maybe, I don't know, 3 months down the road, it'd be great to just bring you back on again and do a part 2, because I'm sure that you'll have found new things, or new things would have been made, or the beta list that you're on will have the things coming out or whatever. Like, I'm sure that it'll change, and I would love to talk about this again with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally game. And I can already tell you we've been getting a few sneak peeks on some of the stuff that's coming out, and kind of keeping an eye on some of the stuff. And there's some pretty darn cool stuff happening. So
I'm scared
absolutely.
and excited.
Let me know and I'll be there, man.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Great.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks for your time, Nick. Have a good rest of your day.
All right, thanks, guys.
Before you go, I'd like to mention 2 things. First of all, if you enjoyed the show, please leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. This really helps a ton. Second, if you want us to produce your podcast, or want to inquire about Podigy's services, or if you have any questions that you'd like to see answered on the show, please send us an email at ohmypod@podigypodcasts.com.